Yes. Hi, how are you? Yes, we have our first viewer. Welcome to this live broadcast. I was actually also broadcasting live on our page because now we are broadcasting weekly every Friday on our page, Zimbabwe Adzoka Maibuya Zimbabwe. But I decided that I have to come and broadcast here on my wall because I think a number of you are not yet aware that we are now doing our updates on our official Facebook page. So how are you, comrades? Welcome, Captain, welcome, Prosper, and welcome, Kakono. Yes, how are you guys? Thank you so much for showing up. And my message actually is that we don't see opposition leadership in Zimbabwe, and this is worrying. It's very worrying. It doesn't look as if we are going to approach, these very important elections in Zimbabwe. And I actually this broadcast is to nudge the opposition leadership in Zimbabwe to step up, to show leadership. And I think everybody who has been following the current registration process going on, the BVR, I think what we can actually agree on is that the number of people who are turning out to register, it's very, very low. People are not showing up to register at different centers. Especially in Harare, we have been getting messages from Harare, from our membership. We have been getting messages from places like Gwanda. People are not showing up to register, and this apathy must worry us. Why is this happening? Why are people not excited, about these elections? Hi, Delina, how are you? So I am very sad and I am very angry at the opposition leadership because we don't see you guys. You are not on the forefront. You have not put out a message out there. People, they need a message out there. That message is not available. So I mean, it's a little bit worrying. It's too quiet. We don't see you guys. We don't know what you are doing. We don't know where you are. I think I have been nudging you guys. I have been writing on my walls that the opposition must show up. And exactly, we don't see you. And this is a very critical moment for the country. People have to register to vote. And for you guys, I mean, you are the politicians. You are going to be on the ballot papers next year. And you want people to vote for you. But then these people need a message. You are supposed to put out a message. We are doing this, of course, as citizens movement. We are going out, but we are only going as citizens movement. What we can do is to mobilize people in their different localities, to try to energize the people to be excited, to participate in these processes. But ultimately, the people, they need to see you, the political leadership. So you guys must show up. We need to see some kind of activities going on. We don't see any activities going on. We are not sure what's happening in your camp. I think you are using a lot of time discussing this coalition and alliances thing, and you are forgetting about voter registration, which is actually very, very important in any election. People have to register to vote. If people don't register, mind you, this is a new voters roll. So if people don't register, how do you expect to win or to reclaim Zimbabwe? So this is my message. I am worried. We are getting a lot of feedback from our membership in different provinces, different areas. People are not showing up to register. I also understand, of course, there are a lot of impediments being imposed by ZEC. But the truth of the matter is that people are also not excited. People are also not excited out there. And today, there were a lot of incidents that have been reported from Dziwarasekwa, from Chitungwiza. And you get messages or information like some ZANU-PF youths are harassing people at registration centers. And and the opposition membership is not, it's not around. The opposition leadership is not around. You guys have got structures all over Zimbabwe, and you cannot even afford to have some monitors, at registration centers. You don't even know how this registration process is going on. Okay, I mean, how are you going to be in an election where you cannot even monitor the registration process? What's going on there? So I think we need to step up. I think we need to up our game, because if we are to see a new Zimbabwe, there must be, or there have to be, a lot of activities going on, and we don't see those activities going on. You guys mobilize, especially those in the rural areas now. They are being denied, proof of residence by their wanasabuku, and you guys. You need to facilitate, you need to show up, because in all those areas you've got some councillors, you've got some representatives, but the information that we are getting is worrying. It's very, very worrying. So my message is mainly directed to the opposition leadership. You guys are not showing up. We don't know where you are. You guys, you are not putting across a message that is resonating with people. I mean, when we go around mobilizing as Zimbabwe, Adzoka Maibuye Zimbabwe, we are being asked this difficult question: what is the message? So, I mean, if we are going to vote for the opposition, what is it that they are promising the people? What is their main message? No, we don't have this message around, but you guys, you expect people to register and vote for you. I think as leadership, you need to step up. We need to see a clearly crafted message that resonates with people. We need to see you going around, whatever campaigning strategies, that mobilization strategies that you are going to use. We need to see you in neighborhoods, in ghettos. We must see you in resettlement areas. We have to see you deep down in those rural areas, in Chiendambuya, Checheche, in Mudzi. You guys must show up. But what is important is also to monitor the registration process. Of course, I understand that they are charging $10 for people who would want to monitor, let's say, from the opposition, and of course that's very expensive. But while you guys are fighting, the legal battles on the other front, you have to understand that as we are speaking now, registration is going on unmonitored. And we are not sure what's happening there. And we are dealing with ZANU-PF. And you don't see the panic in the ZANU-PF camp when it comes to registration. Something is going on there. They are quite confident. They know they are in complete control of this process. And you guys in the opposition have to step up. Because as a citizens movement, we are sacrificing a lot. We are going into these different communities, mobilizing. But you guys are not showing up. We effectively don't see you. What you are doing now is to spend all your time, discussing coalition alliances. And I think as of now, you have got about 3 to 4 groups that could be alliance. We don't even know who is going to be in the final alliance, what is going to constitute the final coalition. So, but you guys are using your energy on the wrong front, because when you use all your energy on the coalition or alliances, and you are not making any effort to monitor the registration process, then it's going to be difficult. 2018 is going to be so difficult. And we as citizens don't want to keep on hearing the same message that, of course the elections were rigged. How were the elections rigged? We don't see clear evidence. So you guys, it's up to you. I think you saw what happened in Kenya, and the opposition in Kenya was quite organized. They were on top of the situation. They managed to produce undeniable evidence to show that elections had been rigged. And this is what we are missing in Zimbabwe. This is what we miss in our country, because we know elections are rigged. Since 2000, elections have been rigged. But there's no way we have managed to convince or to produce convincing dossiers to show this is happening. So I think 2018 has to be different, and we expect a lot from the opposition. And as we see in this phase 1 of the registration process, it's a bit worrying. There is lack of leadership on that front. We don't know what's going on. People are being intimidated in registration centers by ZANU-PF youths. Today, I got reports from Dziwarasekwa. We got several reports from Chitungwiza. And you guys, you have to mobilize your structures so that they are also alert. I mean, because you guys have got a robust, political movement. You have got a huge following, and you are in all these different places. It puzzles me how things like this can happen. How can ZANU-PF have this monopoly when you all guys also have your membership in these different communities? What it effectively means is that you are not mobilizing your base. Your base is not energized. That appetite is not there. And it comes back to you as leaders. It comes back to the leadership. Do something about this before it's too late. I am raising these alarms because we are receiving these messages in our forums at an alarming rate. So worrying. Many people are being turned away. They are being denied, the letters for proof of residence. Then, of course, they have to provide the VR9 form, which also needs a commission of oath. ZEC is supposed to be, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is supposed to be providing the commission of oath, and it's not happening in many centers. And very few people can afford to pay for this, especially in rural communities. So I think, guys, we have to be serious. The country is burning. The country is effectively collapsed. This week we have seen vendors who are being chased away, in the streets. We have seen vendors losing their wares, and this, mind you, these people are unemployed, 95% unemployment rate. But still people are being chased away from the little they can make for their families. But still we don't see the opposition. We don't see the anger. What's happening? So it's a bit worrying. Comrades, let's challenge each other. Let's try to do a little bit more. Whatever we are doing now, it's not enough. And it's very clear, and we can all see that what we are doing is not enough. Hi, Mandy, thank you for joining. Jackie, thank you for joining. Ashley, thank you for joining. Gru, thank you for joining. Yes, it's just a short update on the registration process and a lot of impediments that are going on, and the lack of leadership from the opposition camp. It's worrying. There is dead silence there. We don't even know what's going on or what are they planning. I think you guys in the opposition are using a lot of your time in boardrooms. Get out of the boardrooms, go out, meet the people, talk to the people, mobilize the people, give people some energy, energize your base, because the elections are going to be critical, and the people of Zimbabwe cannot afford to have another 5 years of ZANU-PF or to have a Mugabe dynasty, in Zimbabwe. So let's do something. Let's keep on challenging each other. And of course, civic groups, Zimbabwe Adzoka Maibuya Zimbabwe, we are doing at least 1 to 2 programs every week. And but we don't see the opposition. We don't see you. Where are you guys? What's happening? What are you doing? So we need to see you in communities. We need to see you talking to people. We can do this, but we can't do this alone. So guys, come out of your shells and show up. Hi, Bernard, how are you? Hi, my brother. Yes, I'm doing fine. I'm just so angry today because we don't see our opposition leadership. It's a bit worrying. We are approaching a very important election, and nothing is happening on the ground. No activity, nothing, no message being sent out to the people. And it's worrying. What's going on there? What's happening there? We can just see a few Zimbabwe Adzoka comrades here and there. We see, of course, some few meetings, in different places. But I mean, we are supposed to see a hive of activity. So it's a bit worrying. And it's also I'm not also satisfied with the way, this a lot of irregularities are being reported. I understand there are some challenges that are going on in courts, but ZANU-PF, if you want to fight ZANU-PF in courts only, you cannot win that battle. You can't win that battle when you are fighting ZANU-PF in courts, because they are effectively controlling everything. We need to see some kind of action there, going on. Jake, you are saying, I paid $2 yesterday to the Commissioner of Oath in town for my proof of residence and affidavit. We need commissioners at registration center for free. Yes, this is what I'm saying. It's worrying, because fortunately, Jackie, you were able to pay these $2. But I mean, how many people can afford to pay these $2? You see, so a lot of people are being turned away, or they are not registering because of this. And mind you, you guys in the opposition, remember that as citizens, we were pressing you and we were pushing that you have to deny this proof of residence, as a requirement. And you guys, you were promising us that you are pushing and you are confident that the proof of residence is going to be scrapped out. And guess what? This is now the thing that is actually derailing the progress, proof of residence. And in the rural areas, the sub-book, they can just give the headmen, they can just give to people they know are loyal to the ruling part, the councillors. ZANU-PF has got most of those councillors anyway in rural areas. In urban centers, they know that the proof of residence, the majority of people are not owners of those houses. So I think we have to step up and keep pushing ZEC that those commissioner of oaths are at registration centers, because this must be free. Okay. Or if we cannot do this, I know in the opposition we've got so many people who can qualify to be commissioner of oaths. And let these people hang on their get out of their offices and sacrifice, per week, probably donate 3 to 5 hours to the struggle. Because you guys can be commissioner of oath. Of course, Obet Gutu, you were at Mbare one time, but that's not enough. You guys, there are a lot of lawyers and people who qualifies to be commissioners of oath in the oppositions. You guys show up. At least try to make sure that at every registration center there is a commissioner of oath. But I think this information, sometimes it reaches you quite late, but you have structures in all these places. I'm worried how you guys, of course, the information is relayed to the leadership or when things are not going on okay. But it's really worrying, because the information we are receiving in Harare, it's a bit worrying, because we expect a lot of people to be showing up at registration centers. That's not happening. People are not going to register for these elections. And you guys in the opposition have to ask yourself why, there is no appetite for these elections. What's going on? Why have you failed not to energize people, for these important elections? Because, the conditions are ready. The conditions are ready for the opposition to deliver a victory. The economy has collapsed, 95 unemployment rate. Citizens are starting to be speaking up. You saw a new ministry on cyber threats of Chinamasa was instituted, showing that the government is on the ropes. They are afraid. ZANU-PF has got its own internal problems. They are fighting their own, factionalism. But still, you guys in the opposition are not taking advantage of this. We don't see the leadership. We don't see the leadership talking to people, addressing people, giving people hope. Hi, James. Thank you for watching. Hi, Dorsey. Thank you for watching. And Manjenjenje, thank you for watching. And Freddy. Yes, guys, we are discussing here the worrying silence from the opposition. We don't see our opposition now. I don't know if we still have an opposition in Zimbabwe. I know people in the opposition, many of them are my colleagues. When they see or hear this message, of course, I know they are going to, they are not going to like this message. But we have to be frank with each other. You guys are not showing up. We want to see some kind of activities. Social movements, citizens movement, we are playing a part. But still the voters, the electorate, they need to see you guys. Step up, step up, step up. We don't have time on our side. Yes. So Bernard, you're saying, I asked Chamisa why they are quiet. He said they have teams busy on the ground. No, I think, Bernard, I'm not disagreeing with you, but from an empirical point of view, Zimbabwe Adzoka, as you know, we also have teams on the ground, and I think on a weekly basis, at least you see us doing something. We don't get reports that people are there. Today, there have been some skirmishes in Dziwarasekwa, in Chitungwiza, where ZANU-PF youths have been victimizing people who had come to register. And if the opposition is claiming to have people in these different areas, where are they? What's happening? Why is it that the people who are going to register are getting victimized? Or they are asked, their registration certificate, and these youths, they are copying this kind of sensitive information. We have to ask ourselves, if ZANU-PF is collecting that information from voters, potential voters, what do they want to use it for? Mind you, ZANU-PF started to register their own members using this biometric, this almost identical process we are following now for voting. So members of ZANU-PF, the large majority of members of ZANU-PF, or all of them, already they have got a type of biometric, registration they have for their membership cards. And one thing that we are not sure about is how are these two systems different? To what extent are these two systems similar? Is ZANU-PF not just going to import their own data into this main server? Because these are some of the fundamental questions that are not coming out from the opposition camp. We don't know who is going to be in charge of the server. We don't know if the opposition politicians or political parties are going to have access to this server. So this is going to be ZEC only, but we know ZEC is a captured institution. And we don't see ZANU-PF membership worrying a lot about this registration process. And that should raise a red flag there. That must raise a red flag there, because all people we are meeting are mainly from the opposition, and many of them are not showing up. Ask anybody. I mean, in Harare, I got a lot of messages. People were so much worried. Why is it that people are not showing up at registration centers? And it's worrying. Hi, Privilege. How are you? Carol, how are you? Delina, you're saying, can church ministers help out on the issue of commissioners of oath? Yeah, I think a lot can be done on that front. But I think what we don't see, Delina, is leadership. I think what we are effectively having is like there is a vacuum. And, when there's no leadership, even probably something that you would think probably was going to be simple, or it was going to be some kind of common sense, things are not happening. So many people can qualify to be commissioners of oath, and the opposition has got a capacity. They have a capacity, if they want, to make sure that every sender has a commissioner of oath. And a lot of people can volunteer to do that. But there is need for organizing. There is need, for the leadership to take initiative, because we know our politics in Zimbabwe. Our politics in Zimbabwe, it's mainly top down. Of course, a model that Zimbabwe Adzoka and other social movements are challenging. But what people effectively do mainly is to wait for their leaders to give them instructions, to say something. This is something that we are challenging, but unfortunately, this is something that we still have. So the leadership must show up. The leadership must show up, give instructions, try to make sure things are organized, trying to make sure things are moving. Because I think you have seen that a lot of activities have been suspended when party leadership is not present, the leadership of the party is not present. That shouldn't be the case. Activities must go on as usual. Campaigning must go on as usual, uninterrupted. And I think we have to challenge some of these things if we really want to reclaim our country. Privilege, you are saying you are talking something important. Our potential opposition is reluctant, yet they must take advantage of the social movements as factionalism. Yes, exactly. Because as social movements, you guys, we are going out there doing a small part. We are trying to energize, a certain base, in the electorate. And we are doing this sometimes unconditionally. We are just going there, people sacrificing in their local communities. And the oppositions, they must complement, what we are doing must actually complement the efforts of the opposition. And but we don't see them. These guys are not showing up. I mean, when was the last time you saw a gathering of opposition leaders? When was the last time was there a rally? When was the last time did you see top leadership in the opposition doing a door-to-door campaign? When was the last time you see these leaders knocking doors? We don't see them. Where are they? Because when you relegate, this important duty to party membership, nothing goes on. Nothing is going on, as we can see. So it is a challenge. Let's keep on challenging our leaders. Let's keep on nudging them. We want to see them in the streets. We want to see them talking to the people. And what is most worrying is that there is no message that is resonating with people there. There is no message as we approach 2018. This election has got so many things at stake. It was going to be very easy for the opposition to craft a clever and, inclusive message. This message is not there. And what is worrying is that the opposition is actually spending more time talking about alliances, talking about coalitions, in boardrooms, discussing who is going to get what seats, who is going to get what position. And these guys, they are just way, way ahead. I mean, the priority must be on registration. For you guys to get those positions, people must be registered. And this is how we should approach this. Because when you spend most of your time in boardrooms discussing issues about positions and stuff, we start to worry. We start to worry about your faithfulness to the struggle. We start to worry about your intentions. We start to worry about you. I mean, the way you are taking this struggle, especially for 2018 elections, you guys are too slow. You guys are not showing up. You are not interacting. You are not connecting with people. So it's a challenge for you guys in the opposition. Most of you are my colleagues, but we have to nudge you. We have to push you, because what is more important is for the people of Zimbabwe to have a new country post-2018. It's for the people of Zimbabwe celebrating the true independence of our nation, because we are not an independent country. We are not a free people. And you guys in the opposition must provide this leadership. You guys in the opposition, it's your names that are going to be on the ballot boxes, ballot papers. Hey, so where are you guys? Step up. It's a challenge to you. Hi, Jim. Thank you for watching. Yes, I think you are right, Jim. The opposition is literally sleeping. You guys, you have to show up. You have to wake up from your deep slumber and start mobilizing people. I am so angry today. I am angry because we are trying to complement the political parties, but we don't see them. We don't see these guys. And the feedback that we get is worrying. Like now, we are yet to get official figures, right, from of the first phase. But my take, and from what the feedback we are getting, is the number is going to be so low of registered voters during this first phase. And I think it's going to be an eye-opener for most of us. You guys in the opposition, if you don't see this, I have seen a few of you posting about this, saying that very few people are showing up. And of course, you are blaming ZEC, which is of course also factually correct. But your leadership, we don't see it. Your base is not energized. And that is the first problem. Because it's not like 1,000 people are showing up and they are not being registered. The problem starts because nobody is showing up. And when nobody is showing up at a registration center for this important election, then you have to ask yourself, what is it that you are not, what is it that you are not saying to the people? Why are the people not buying your message, especially when the conditions are so dire like this? Because we are We sacrifice a lot as citizens. Sometimes we are sacrificing a lot from our daily budgets to run these social movements, to make sure we are having some activities. Zimbabweans all over in Zimbabwe, abroad, people are sacrificing a lot to make sure that, as a social movement, we contribute something. And it's worrying when we are trying to help in this struggle, but we don't see you guys. But you are the political leadership. You are supposed to be on the forefront, and we are supposed to be complimenting your efforts. But it's not happening. You are not there. Tafadzwa, opposition is letting the people of Zimbabwe down. You are right, definitely. Now, we literally, this week, vendors are being thrown out of the streets. We don't see any anger in the opposition circles. Stan Zorwadza, who leads, the Vendors Association, was arrested. And we see a couple of statements, solidarity statement from other movements, social movements, political leadership. You are not talking about these issues. We don't see press conferences. I mean, vendors who are being chased in Zimbabwe, this is a big deal, right? It has to be a big deal. You guys, we're supposed to have a joint press statement, talk about these fundamentals. If you are not worried that a lot of Zimbabweans are being chased from the streets, and these people are unemployed, and that it's only for, when these people are in the streets trying to eke out a living, but they are being just thrown away, and their ways are being just taken away. Today in Bulawayo, they were taking away the goods of people who are sweating, to make $1 per day. And the opposition guys, the opposition politicians, you are not talking about these basic things, these fundamentals. We don't see press statements. We don't see you condemning these activities live. Come live on Facebook. You don't need to be on ZBC. They don't give you space. Come live on Facebook now with this opportunity. Connect with the people. Talk to the vendors. It's a very huge, electorate, because almost effectively everyone is a vendor now. So this is what we are lacking. You are alienating yourself from the people. You are alienating yourself from the people. You are no longer with the people yourself. And guess what? Some of you are in what you call safe seats, right? You are in what you call safe seats. So come 2018, you are going to be members of parliament. You are still going to enjoy your packages. You are still going to drive your Mercedes Benz, and you are still going to live in those houses you are living in. But what's going to happen to the ordinary voter? So if you guys don't step up, it's not you who are going to suffer. It's going to be the electorate. Somebody in Checheche, somebody in Kambuzuma, Chitungwi, Zambare. You see, in Matapi, all these who are living under these, deplorable conditions. So you guys, your faithfulness to the struggle, must be shown by how you approach this very, very serious and important election in the history of Zimbabwe. Probably this is the most important election since 1980. This is one of the most important elections, an election that we cannot afford to lose. Victoria, you are saying the opposition parties have already sold the struggle to ZANU-PF by failing to secure and participate in the registration process. It's very worrying, and I'm very sad, and I'm very angry. Like I say, people are not showing up to register, and instead of always saying ZEC, 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 yes, there are a lot of impediments there, but you guys put your house in order. Meet the people, talk to the people, make things happen. Privilege, true. Tafadzwa, with the current opposition behavior, don't be shocked to see ZANU-PF winning again. And yeah, this is of course something that we don't want to say, but I think everybody can start to see this. If you don't show up, ZANU-PF is going to win. Mind you, like I have told you, I think many of you have read that article that was being circulated around, about a kind of rigging mechanism that probably or potentially has been discovered. What you should know, and what everyone knows, is that ZANU-PF already has got this biometric kind of system for their members. Membership cards for ZANU-PF are now biometric. And the biometric information that ZANU-PF collect from their membership is the same information that ZEC is also collecting from the potential voters. So who knows if maybe this, ZANU-PF members are just going to be imported in the server. So as we are talking now, probably all ZANU-PF supporters are already in the server. They are already registered voters. So you guys, when we are dealing with ZANU-PF, everything is possible. So the only chance, we have said this, I will say this again. And when we launched the Zimbabwe Adzoka, this was the basis for launching Zimbabwe Adzoka. The basis for launching Zimbabwe Adzoka, Maibuya Zimbabwe, was to say that, look, a lot of our people are living in the rural areas. And ZANU-PF has been winning in rural areas or doing okay in the rural areas, and progressive movements have been doing badly. We have been told by the opposition that those areas, we cannot reach there. We are not campaigning in those areas because they are unreachable. Zimbabwe Adzoka has managed to penetrate some of these areas. And we have shown you some evidence, both pictures and videos, of us in Mudzi with people in Mudzi, of us in Uzumba with people in Uzumba. So, what we've been doing is to try to prove that we can go into these areas. It's a matter of trying to come up with strategies that work in these local settings. Because the problem that we always have is to ignore the local knowledge in these communities. In these communities, you don't need to go and do mega rallies. Go there and meet people individually. Go there and knock on people's doors. And mind you, we have got, after each election, we've got 4 years. And what you guys in the opposition are doing is, after an election, you go and sleep. Okay? And you wait to campaign 1 month before election, 6 months before election. Do you think you can campaign in Uzumba Maramba Fungwe 6 months before election? Hell no. But can you campaign in Uzumba Maramba Fungwe 2 years before elections? Yes, you can do. But you guys are not showing up. So it's about knowing, the ZANU-PF. It's about knowing how they behave. It's about knowing that they become so brutal close to the elections. And then you utilize the other cycles, the safe periods. And you guys must know this. You've been in the trenches for 18 years now. 18 years, and we are failing to penetrate rural areas. Are we saying we don't have people or think tanks or can come up with good strategies? A movement like Zimbabwe, Adzoka Maibuya Zimbabwe, has managed to do that. In about 12 months or so, we have managed to go into those difficult places. So those places can be reached, but you need new innovative strategies. Stop doing these mega rallies if they don't work in these localities. And you are not even assured, even if you get 100,000 people showing up, you are not assured they are going to vote for you. Okay? Go to the people. Meet people in smaller groups. Talk to people in smaller numbers. Your local leadership can do this. It doesn't need to be BT Changrai, Mayim Juro, something. Local leadership can go into this. Do you know how many votes do you need in each village, at least, to, for example, to be a member of parliament in a constituency? Only 20 to 25 to 30 votes are enough. If in every village we are going to get 20 votes in each village of Zimbabwe, someone can be elected a member of parliament. Are we saying for 18 years we have failed to come up with a strategy of mobilizing only 30 people in one village? And then we make sure we know these 20 to 30 people are going to vote for us. And multiply that by the number of villages in a ward, the number of wards in a constituency. You get how many? 16 to 18,000 votes. And what number? I mean, our MPs are elected with which numbers? Those are the same numbers. Our MPs are elected with 15, 16,000, 18,000, 20,000. So I think it's a way of thinking that is needed, that is different, a new way of doing politics that is people-centered, a new way of doing politics that is grounded, that is at the grassroots. So it's a challenge. We can do this. We can do it much, much better, guys. And let's utilize the talent that we have. Let's utilize the young minds that we have in our movements. Let's create space for them. I mean, let's get new ideas. Let's get fresh ideas. So that, we liberate our own people. Because sometimes we always think it's, of course, ZANU-PF can do anything, and they are very clear about this. Jonathan Moy was very clear about this. ZANU-PF will never reform itself from out of power. No. Politicians, they won't do it. In the Zimbabwean case, of course, they won't do it. So it's up to us to challenge them, to challenge the status quo. Hi, Jim. Jim, you are saying maybe go national with your movement. No, Zimbabwe Adzoka is a national movement. Yes, we do have some representatives in all political districts. But we are not a political movement. We are not going to contest in these elections. What we are doing is facilitating to make sure that our people at grassroots become proactive, that people in the marginals, become proactive in political processes. And as we go around, we see there's a lot of appetite. There's a lot of appetite for people to listen, to know more, to participate. We see this. I mean, the Zimbabwe Adzoka flyer on its own, only that flyer, that message on the flyer, I challenge any of you, take that message to your go-go in Checheche or wherever in the rural areas and tell me what their reaction. People are receiving that message. When people get those flyers, Zimbabwe Adzoka flyers, they are not tearing those up. They are actually passing them on to different people in villages. This is how the movement is growing organically. But it's all about letting people know that they have the power. It's about giving people confidence that they can do it on their own. It's about knowing that we as leadership, from different leadership, all you can do in the struggle is facilitate it, but then the people will fight it. But the problem that we do have in Zimbabwe, it's about personalities. It's about people saying, I am the revolution. And when you do that, you seclude people. And when you are not present, the struggle stops. And we don't need this. We need people to fight their struggle every day. And when we do this, we don't delay the freedoms of our people. Let's not wait for the leadership to do this. So comrades, I think, as you know, the leadership of Zimbabwe Adzoka, some are diaspora based, some are in Zimbabwe, but you see people doing, people are enthusiastic about their activities doing this. The absence of leaders must not hinder the progress of a progressive movement. People must continue to fight for their own freedom. They have to know that it's up to them. But as a leadership, you have to facilitate, to make sure that this is possible. Yes, Jim, you are saying gift, thank you for joining. George, thank you for joining. So Jim, you are saying you want to hear the big guns in MDC talking about it too. The other opposition, including ruling party. Yeah, so we have to change a narrative, we have to come up with a new narrative in our politics. We have to challenge the norm, or what we think is the norm. We have to start to have a new narrative where people in the marginals are part of the processes. ZANU-PF and ZAPU, ZANU and ZAPU, they used to do this during the liberation struggle. If it was not about people in the marginals, if it was not about people in the rural areas, the people they were calling the water, we were not going to win the war of liberation. This is something that is very basic that we need to understand. For us to build a progressive mass movement, we must include everybody. Everybody must feel to be part of the process. Okay? But now, because the danger that we run into is that if we alienate the masses, ZANU-PF has done that. They have disbanded Gutsaru Jinji, something, and they are no longer with the people. But now they have state institutions. They control the judiciary or practically anything. So they can do this using tools of intimidation and whatever, but they no longer have the people. But what is worrying is that the opposition movement is losing the people now. So what is happening is, if the opposition leadership is not stepping up, there's going to be a vacuum. Okay, and that vacuum naturally is going to be filled up. But for 2018, we were all saying that 2018 is too early for experiments. 2018 is too early for experiments. can we have a coalition of, consolidated, inclusive, robust movement to contest and make sure that we have done away with ZANU-PF? Okay, then we can start rebuilding our beautiful country. It's not so difficult. Zimbabwe is a very small but rich country, and it won't even take 5 years, to jumpstart Zimbabwe. I mean, we can do this. That's not the problem. The problem is ZANU-PF, and ZANU-PF must be shipped out. But our opposition leadership is not showing that level of seriousness we expect from them at this level. Because elections are potentially 9 months away, 6 months away. And what's going on? Zero, no activity, nothing. People are in boardrooms discussing about alliances, coalition. We've got 3-4 alliances, coalitions. People are discussing about different positions, who is going to be what, where, and how. And this is not what we are supposed to be talking about. We are supposed to be meeting the people. Okay? And this, can be done by our local structures. It doesn't need to be BT, it doesn't need to be Changrai, it doesn't need to be Maim Juru. It can be our local leaders. We have got structures. Why can't we do this? A new type of thinking, a new type of politics that is innovative and broad-based. Yes, thank you for joining, Herbert. And Jimmy are saying Zimbabwe can be jump-started overnight, bro. Yes, so that is not a problem. I feel, thank you for joining. That is not a problem. Jump-starting Zimbabwe is not a problem. But for this broadcast, comrades, my main worry is that people are not showing up at registration centers. And for those few who are showing up, there are a lot of impediments. What it effectively means is that people are not getting registered. When people don't register to vote, they are not going to vote. So for the opposition, this is supposed to be the main issue they are supposed to be discussing. Because whatever coalition, whatever alliance they are going to have, it needs votes. And very few people, this is a new voters roll. So nobody before, the beginning of this registration process was on the voters roll. So if we are not going to energize our base, if we are not going to coin a new message that resonates, that cuts across, that is inclusive for both rural and urban, that inclusive for both the youth and the old people, we cannot cut it. It's going to be a difficult battle. Let's not rely on protest vote. Let's not just assume that people will vote for us because ZANU-PF has performed miserably. Let's not assume people are going to vote for the opposition because there is a cash crisis. Let's not do that. In 2013, we saw, I think, about 43% of the people turned up. And that's a very, very low number. So with that fresh in mind, it's very worrying to see that people are not getting registered. They are not going to register. So, comrades, I ask you to share this message. I want this message to reach potentially all the political leadership. I want them to understand that the social movements are doing their best to try to prop them up. We are doing this not because we love the opposition leadership so much, but because we love Zimbabwe. We are doing this for our country. I am doing this for my children. I want them to have a country they call home. I want them to be proud of their heritage, even if they will choose in future not to be in Zimbabwe. But I want them to be proud of that, to be proud of who they are, to have a place they can call home. This is why we are sacrificing in this struggle. This is why we keep asking you guys to chip in and help in the struggle. Whether you are in Zimbabwe, whether you are in the diaspora, this is why we keep on asking you. Hatilangwire munda kumakudo. We cannot do that. Zimbabwe is our home. Zimbabwe is our heritage. We have to be proud of our country. And when kana vana vedu vawa kutibvunza kuti what did we do, we must have something. We must tell them something that we played a part. that was small, but then it became significant. Because when you do something, when I do something, when we all collectively do something, it's going to be marvelous. The impact is going to be huge. So comrades and colleagues, it's even this voter mobilization we are talking about. If we had done it in a familiar mode, if I had mobilized my family back home, if you had mobilized your family back home, if everybody in Harare had made sure that they are making sure that their grandfathers or their gogos have known that they should go and register, if we have invested some time to make sure that our 18-year-olds and 22 years and 24 years, we are asking them to go and register. Because mind you, this age group that doesn't vote, 18 to 24 years, it puzzles me. In Zimbabwe, 18 to 24 years, these are practically children that are still living under guardianship. Okay? It's either they are still in college or they are still doing, their high schools, or or they are somewhere in between. And as guardians, as parents, we are still, we still have a little bit of influence. If we can do this, you make sure you have mobilized 10 more people. You make sure that you have discussed this with people in your families. You have argued your way. We will not be talking about this voter apathy we are talking about. Okay? Because then everyone must be in the... But the problem that we do have, we reserve this. We think there are people who must do this. We think there are people who are supposed to come and tell us what to do. And we wait for the political leadership to come out of their shells. Now they are in their shells. So what do? We don't register. We don't vote. So what are we doing? Zimbabwe is our country. It's my country. It's your country. Political leadership, these are our servants. So comrades, we have to comprehend. We have to understand this new consciousness. We have to make sure that if we don't participate in these processes, if we don't donate that $1, that $2 to people who are doing work on ground, somebody else is doing it for you. And if 5 people are doing it, it's going to be difficult than if 100 people were going to do it. Okay? Because I have always argued, people have talked about resources, lack of resources and that. And of course, we have to also understand from the perspective that sometimes lack of action is due to lack of resources. But Zimbabwe probably now has got up to 3 million, 4 million, 5 million people outside of Zimbabwe. Most of those are gainfully employed. Most of those, they are professionals. If 3 million Zimbabweans, if each of us was going to donate $1 to a credible source, we are going to raise $3 million, $1 million by donating $1. But the problem that we do have, we have got 20 people who donate $100, and we are not spreading the burden. And when we don't do that, it becomes expensive to every one of us. Let's be like insurers. This is why we have got the business of insurance. Okay? It was to spread the risk. It was to spread it around. When you have got 100 ships, okay? Instead of one person losing a ship, in a hurricane or whatever, the idea was to spread around. Put $1 each. So that when one person lost their ship, we can contribute $1. It's better to have 99 remaining and then we give one person again so that, they regain their ship. This is insurance. This is what we need to do when we are fighting for our country. Let's all contribute very small things, but when we do that as a collectivity, then it's going to have huge impact. This is what we are lacking in Zimbabwe. This is what Zimbabwe, Adzoka Maibuye Zimbabwe, is doing in Zimbabwe. This is when you see us every time, people walking around with those t-shirts, with those flyers in those local communities. There are some Zimbabweans who are sacrificing. There are a few people who are doing that because they fundamentally believe that the freedom of our people is important. So comrades and friends, everyone who is watching and who is going to watch, let's all do our part. We all have a specific role to play. Some people They will come and speak to you. That's their role. Some people, they can contribute $1 every month. That's their role. Some people, they can move around from one village to another walking physically. That's their role. But if we, or some people can compose music. We have songs. So all of us, we've got a talent. Something special that we can contribute to this struggle. And when we do that, this struggle is going to be much, much easier. Unfortunately, very few are doing this. I'm happy. Of course, each day people are joining, expressing interest to be part of a conscious citizenry. But my worry, as of now, is the political leadership. The political leadership is hibernating. And if anybody knows where they are hibernating from, please tell them that spring is here. They need to wake up. We need to see them going around in different places doing some activities. Thank you, comrades, for... Yes, do we have... can I respond to... If we do not participate, we are doomed. Definitely, if we don't participate, we are doomed. No two ways about it. And Victoria, you are saying Zimbabweans in general aren't ready to fight for their freedom. They expect someone to come and deliver to them on a silver platter. Everybody can play a part and contribute in their small ways. Obviously. And the reason now, I think I have said this in this broadcast, the reason now why I'm angry or I'm trying to nudge the opposition leadership is because we expect a lot from our leadership at any level. Okay? And this is a culture that we have to slowly change, because when we start to participate ourselves in these processes, we even force our leadership to be more responsive. When leadership see that people are more participating, a leadership becomes more open. A leadership becomes more transparent. The issues of ethics becomes more, because somebody is watching you. But when like we did this mistake, Zimbabwe. Remember in 1980 when Robert Mugabe won was, what was the euphoria about? The euphoria was that Zimbabwe has done it. Who knows that 37 years down the line we were going to do this? But what did we do? We were removing our shoes, we were putting some blankets so that Mugabe goes, people were waking up at 4 o'clock singing songs and jubilating and stuff like that. And we forgot that the greatest role we could play as citizens was to question the leadership, to monitor the leadership, to ask them difficult questions, not to ululate them, not to eulogize at them, and not to make them immortal. So sometimes we create these monsters ourselves. And as a nation, we should have learned by now, but no, we keep on doing this. Why do we do this? We don't participate. We don't participate. We don't ask questions. Okay? When we do that to the leadership, we can create these monsters on our own. So this is something that we have to continually remind each other. Let's create a new narrative in our politics. Let's take a new trajectory. Let's know that for Zimbabwe to see the light of freedom, for us to enjoy these freedoms. I was looking at, I think you have seen this list of countries with freedom of press or expression. And I think Norway was, the Scandinavian countries were 1, 2, 3 up to 4. And, for people in the Scandinavia to enjoy the benefits they are enjoying, it's because they participate, they are active citizens. They are active citizens. They participate in these processes. They volunteer. There are so many, what are called foreigning, so many assemblies, so many communities, people coming together. As Zimbabweans, this is foreign to us. We don't do that. I was talking to Zimbabweans in the diaspora. For example, UK has got so many Zimbabweans. But people are not organized. They are not into these communities. They actually, and when we are not organized, it's very difficult for us to pull our resources together. So it's problematic. And of course, our political leadership has been feasting on this, the lack of unity, because of course they have divided us in order to rule us. And they have benefited from this. But when we are not united, when we don't participate in these extra community duties, we are not a nation. We are so much fragmented. Yes, you are right, Jim. Because, as human beings, as citizens of any country, of course we can go to our work. All of us, we have to work, gainfully work. But we also have to participate in extra community activities. This is what makes us a collectivity. And for us, we have got this philosophy, the beautiful philosophy of Ubuntu. You are who you are because of somebody else. A branch of a tree cannot independently exist. If you cut a branch of a tree, it dries up. Okay, but if it hangs on to the stump, it gets stronger. It bears fruits. So this is what we have to use, our own local knowledge systems, and create a new developmental narrative as we move forward as a people, as a nation. Okay, we are tired of the way ZANU-PF is ruling us. We are tired. Psychology Maziwisa was talking about creating informal jobs, 2 million informal jobs, the vendors, right? And those are the vendors again that are being chased away from the streets. And because we are not organized as a citizen, these things happens every day. Every day. Here in Norway, for example, even people who are driving electric cars, they have got their own organization that is so strong that even the parliament can stop to pass a law because of that organization. There is power in organizing ourselves. There is power in unity. We don't do this. We are fragmented, and we have got 70 political parties, and we have 50 presidential candidates, and the citizens want these people to be united, and they cannot agree who is going to be a president. Nkosana want to be president, Manyika want to be president, Changirai want to be president, Mujuru want to be president. Okay, how many presidents are we going to have at once in 2018? And of course, ZANU-PF is very clever. They maintain their center of power. Forget about their fighting and what, but they know they have one center of power. Because they know that as long as they are united around Mugabe, they are going to enjoy different benefits. So all this the fighting that is going on, some of it is real, some of it is fiction. But don't pay too much attention on that. When it comes to what matters most, power, ZANU-PF is a shark. They coalesce around to get it. And this is what we fail to do as a progressive movement. And why? We have discarded our own knowledge system, our own values. We have bought into this individualism. We have forget the collectivity that we are united as if we are stronger when we are united. We just talk about unity as a lip service or to appear in reports or in proposals, and we don't do this in practice. And this is letting our people, letting our nation down. Do we know, for example, I have been living here in Norway for about 8 to 10 years now. Here in Norway, they still do what are called dugnads. You know what we used to do back home, the cooperative or the nimbes or things like that. Communities coming together, working together. For example, in Zimbabwe, you see those dilapidated schools, the bridges and stuff. Local people in those areas can do a lot to fix those areas. Those bridges, those schools. But we don't have a leadership. We don't have a leadership that directs people there. Our leadership concentrates on fragmenting us along so many lines, so that we just know it's about fighting each other, not cooperating. Because if we cooperate, of course they would not have been in power, a long time ago. So, comrades and friends, this is an unusually long broadcast, but I really wanted us to kind of have this kind of discussion around these important issues. Yes, welcome, Alex. And Jimmy are saying these fights are just a method of shifting our focus from the real stuff. Yeah, and of course we are buying into it, right? Because I think the main worry we are having is that the opposition leadership is not showing up. We don't see them as much as we would like to see them. So Let's challenge our leadership in different areas, different sectors. If you are in social movements, challenge your leadership, make them accountable, know what's going on, see some activities, okay? Ask questions. You have to ask these difficult questions to your leaders. Because when you don't do, this is where we start to people just do whatever they want. So the little that we have, we must account for it. It must be accounted for. Okay, as we move forward. When we do this, we create a new narrative for our nation. We give hope to our people. Because our people needs this. Zimbabwe needs this. We need a new way of thinking. We need a new narrative. We don't have to discuss everything that is, to discard everything that is Zimbabwean, that is African. In our own values, there are so many valuable things that we can learn and take forward. We can borrow from other nations. For example, from the Scandinavia, there are so many things we can borrow and marry those things in our own values, to take our country to the next level. And this is what we have to do. This has to be something, we must be passionate about this. We have to be passionate about this because Zimbabwe is our nation. Zimbabwe is our country. Zimbabwe is our heritage. When we don't have a country, we don't have a heritage. Now when you look at Harare, it's sewer, it's everywhere. And Zimbabwe as a country, we are having diseases like typhoid. Seriously, in this century, we are still having a country that is struggling with typhoid, a medieval disease. Yeah? I mean, we make ourselves a laughing stock, we don't even have a currency. We use something that is called bond what? As long as you go outside of the borders, it's just a paper, you can't do anything with it. Yeah? People's credit cards people can no longer use their credit cards there. No? You travel out of Zimbabwe, even your cards don't work, they have nothing. You put US dollars in your accounts and they give you something else in replacement. Yeah? I mean, but we are fragmented. What can we do about this? Let's coalesce, let's build something as we move forward. A few individuals cannot capture a whole nation of 15 million people. Let's stand up. Where are you? Rise up. Rise up. Talk, challenge your friends. Talk to your colleagues. People must rise up. Diaspora, get organized. Finance the struggle. I mean, finance it on your own terms. I'm not saying that just give people money for nothing. No. Of course, people have to back out. Finance your money. Come up with your own terms. Tell organization movements, we have got this amount of money, but we are giving you on this condition. We have got this amount of money, but we are not going to give you as cash. We are going to buy flyers. We are going to buy t-shirts. You can do this. Why can't you do this? People don't donate. Wow, because of accountability, because of people stealing. And why can't you buy the stuff? Why can't you buy the t-shirts? Why can't you print the flyers and donate those instead? So let's always kind of challenge each other, and so that we move away from this comfort zone, so that we move away from these narratives that we speak every day. I know for sure there are a few people who are really sacrificing for a new Zimbabwe. And of course, the majority of us are on the sidelines. They are watching. We want to see what's going to happen. Guess what? Nothing is going to happen if you don't participate. It's just as simple as that. So let's think ahead. Let's know that, of course, the current enemy that we have is ZANU-PF, but in general, it's the whole leadership, it's the whole system in Zimbabwe that is rotten, that is so much focused on individualism, that is greedy. Okay? Gift. You are saying even if we donate flyers, they will find a way of eating flyers. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, but yes, I mean, let's just kind of challenge each other, because of course it could be possible, but let's challenge each other around those issues. Let's find a way where we can create a new narrative, come up with our own mechanisms, okay, and let's set our own conditions. I have never seen any organization, any movement come to Zimbabwe Yadzoka and say, Zimbabwe Yadzoka, hey, we want to give you 15,000 flyers because we have seen that you distribute these flyers around. Can you give us a template so that we print 10,000 flyers for you? Hell, give us, and you see, we will distribute them in a blink of an eye. And we don't even need Zimbabwe Yadzoka. When you see those activities, we don't have cars, we use public transport. We ask people who are driving, I mean, these are citizens as well, to take these things from point A from point B, so that things move. We don't buy cars, we don't need cars. We can fight as people, because people must fight the struggle in their own local areas. So you don't see people from Harare going to Mount Darwin. No. People in Mount Darwin on their own, we need to facilitate their struggle when they are in Mount Darwin. So what you need to do is to give them, the basic necessities, so that's how you facilitate a struggle. You move away from this centralized structure where everything is coming from above and going below. Empower these people in local communities. For example, when we want to defend our vote, you are not going to do it in Harare. You want people all over to rise up. You want people in Mutoko to rise up, in Mutare. And this is why we are failing even our demonstrations. We are demonstrating on one street at a corner with 15 people every day. We are failing to galvanize the masses. Let people demonstrate in Gwanda, Blawayo, Mutare, Nyazura, something like that. This government does not have a capacity to do. They don't have the capacity to handle all those demonstrations. If demonstrations are going to be organized simultaneously around the country, they don't have the capacity to do that. How many water cannons do we have in Zimbabwe? How many water cannons do we have in Zimbabwe? Probably 2 or 3. And they are going to be in Harare. Okay, but that's the problem, because we have to be faithful to the struggle. When we say we are fighting a struggle, let's be faithful to our struggle. When we deliver something to the struggle, let's have some mechanism to see where is it going. A struggle is a struggle when the majority is involved. Let's move away from this idea of creating personalities in politics, creating personalities in activism, celebrities in politics, celebrities in activism. Servant leadership. People must do these things in their own local communities. For Zimbabwe Yadzoka, you can see people in Mudzi doing their own things. I don't need to be in Mudzi for something to be going on. Our national coordinator doesn't need to go to Zumba Maramba Fungwe for something to happen there. But if you tell us, if you give us resources and you want to see something happening in Chipinge, tomorrow we can do that. People in Chipinge can do that. This is what we have to do. Let's empower people in their local communities. Yes, Jimmy are saying corruption is too much. Yeah, but you see, this is what happens, when we have a greedy leadership. Because what ZANU-PF is systematically doing is to decimate Ubuntu, the philosophy, so pure yet misunderstood and underutilized in our communities. Because this is what is supposed to be a glue in our communities. But what ZANU-PF has done is to systematically move away from that narrative. Because they want you and I to be individualistic. Because once we are individualistic, I'm now thinking about myself, my kid, and my core family. I forget about everybody else. If I am benefiting, if I have a job, if I have a land, if I have a God claim, it's okay with me. You see, I don't care with everybody else. And this is the narrative that we have in Zimbabwe now. Why people are not involved in this struggle? Because I have land. Because I have a God claim. So I have benefited something. You see, so it's a systematic way of creating an individualistic narrative. And this is what we have to move away from as a people, as a nation. We have to start to talk about those broad issues. Communities survive together. Branches of a tree survive because they are hanging on to the branch. A leaf of a tree survives because it hangs on to the tree. Once it falls off, it loses value. Okay? And when they were fighting the war of liberation, these guys, they were talking about the water and the fish and the water. A fish cannot survive out of the water. These were the fundamentals we are talking about. And this philosophy is no longer, you don't see it. You don't see it. Now, even the opposition leadership, you don't see them with the people. You don't see them with the people. The registration is going on. How many political opposition leadership have we seen walking around in Budiriro knocking doors? How many of our MPs now? How many of our councillors, even from the MDC, from the opposition, have you seen walking, knocking doors, encouraging people to mobilize? Nobody. Or if I missed, maybe just a few. But you don't see them. They don't go and meet the people. They are waiting for a mega rally. Then they are taking a microphone and they are speaking to 50,000 people. And those 50,000 people are just clapping and shouting slogans. They don't say anything back. That's not leadership. That's not leadership. Go there, talk to people, listen to them. Make them accommodated, make them loved. So that they become part of the process, they become valued. This is what we have to do for our country. This is the new narrative that we have to challenge ourselves to start doing as a new generation, because it is now our generational mandate to put Zimbabwe back. We cannot continue to blame the generation of our fathers. That generation has failed already to reclaim Zimbabwe. So when I see all these people who are in their 60s, whatever, 70s, still fighting for leadership in Zimbabwe, it's a shame because they've already failed. That's the same generation that has been subjugated by ZANU-PF, and they've done nothing about it. So this is what we have to start to discuss, the issues that we have to start to articulate as a generation, and to map out a new way forward, a new narrative in our communities. We go there as Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe, we talk to Nana Gogo, they understand what is that. We write something on them and they understand. This is the message coming from the people. They connect with this. We talk with them Ubuntu. We talk with them unity. We talk with them Nimbe, collectivity, working together. They understand. Let's not use too much of this borrowed language, democratization, human rights and stuff. Those things are important, but let's find ways of expressing them in our local ways so that it carries value. Because when we don't translate this language in the language that our people understand, ZANU-PF is feasting on this. ZANU-PF propaganda machinery has been feasting on this, to say that anything that speaks good about Zimbabwe or to change something about Zimbabwe, they are sponsored by the West, they are regime changers. No, we are not regime changers. We are a new generation of Zimbabwean who are coming up with a new narrative, who are saying that the leadership of ZANU-PF has abandoned Ubuntu. You are now living in huge spaces. You are now having so many farms, multiple ownership. You are driving very expensive cars, and the majority of people are wallowing. You have forgotten my go-go there in Chendambuya, in Checheche. And yet those people, they sacrificed. They sold all their cows. And I remember every time the school term were opening, people would go to the market to sell a cow, to sell a goat, to send a kid to school. For what? For someone to become a vendor in the streets of Harare. It's not like that. And this is not the freedom that these people have fought for. So when they talk about the narrative of war, we must not allow them to monopolize it. We must not let them to monopolize the nationalistic agenda. We are also nationalistic. We also love our country. But we don't want to see a kid in Chendambuya walking 10 kilometers to go to the nearest school. How can we allow that 37 years after independence to see a child, those pictures going around the internet, that school? I think that I have to challenge you citizens that we have to do something. We have to start to even building those schools, one block or something. That school in Slobela where kids are just sitting on dust and they are eating dust the whole day. And we say we are the most literate nation because illiteracy just means people who can read and write. And if that doesn't translate into anything else, it's useless to have those statistics. So, comrades, let's change the narrative of our country. The direction of our country is not good. Let's challenge the hegemonic structures in our societies. By this I mean let's challenge both the opposition leadership, let's challenge also the ZANU-PF leadership. Yes, because leadership in both camps are quite becoming problematic to the citizens of the country. Citizens of the country must must have a new narrative, start to understand things in different ways. We must kind of build a kind of cohesion, unity, cooperation. We need to find something to coalesce around. And we need to chart a new way forward as we move. Because we can't allow this to happen, to just a few people to give $200, $100 to our youth, and people are selling out their future for that. We can't allow that to happen. So we have to be passionate about these, comrades, when we talk about these issues, when we address these issues, without fear or favor. Because we do this because we love this country. You love this country, I love this country. I see a lot of you guys, Jim, there you are putting a flag on your profile. I see so many people, loving Zimbabwe in so many different ways. I see so many Zimbabweans becoming successful in foreign lands. And of course, it has to pain our hearts. I mean, if we were using these resources responsibly, if all these people were significantly contributing to the nation, I mean, Zimbabwe will be something by miles away. I mean, by now, as we talk in terms of development or progress, whichever way you look at it. Okay, the country is so rich. What mineral that don't we have? If we compare Zimbabwe, per square meter, the size of our country and the density of the minerals that are in it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Even if ZANU-PF abused that $15 billion, it's peanuts in the grand scheme of things. The country is so rich. It just needs responsible leadership. It needs a new leadership with some kind of ethics that cannot sell our precious minerals for peanuts, for something they just say, look, East policy and stuff like that, and they give everything to the Chinese for nothing, and this is a new form of colonialism that we allow, and we clap hands, when they address us, when talk about these things. We need to start to talk about these things. We need to start to talk about value addition. We need to start to see Asian tigers. How did they manage it? The Scandinavia, how did they manage to do this? What can we do? What can we learn? Okay, what can we learn from our local knowledge systems? What can we borrow from other nations? How can we move forward? Okay, we cannot continue to blame sanctions. We cannot continue to blame other nations for failing to feed our own children. When you are a father and you are not feeding your own child, your child is hungry, and you are blaming the father, the neighbor for that, you have failed. You have failed as a father. You have failed as a leader. Because even there are some countries that have been performing spectacularly under sanctions. We have so many examples. Rhodesia was under sanctions. It was doing quite well. Okay? So in Zimbabwe, although people talk about those personalized, not even sanctions, but travel restrictions, and they use those as scapegoats for looting our country. We see them buying these new cars. What are they called again? These very expensive cars. We see these cars coming, gift. I saw you were writing about this. I was reading your article, about this issue. And it's painful. The first lady of the country is buying these expensive cars. He's buying a ring for 1.3 million. She is buying a house for 45 million rands. And it's all over the place. Okay. And this is a first lady of a country. This is the Marie Antoinette. People are starving and you're asking people to eat cake. You see, because these people, they don't even know the life we are talking about. Despite that themselves, when they were growing up, they were poor. But now they don't even know how it is to be poor. They cannot even empathize with their own people. They just use our people as tool for political campaigns. They just use the youth, and give them $50 handouts to beat other citizens. And we allow these things to go on. And we allow these things even to go also into the progressive movement. Okay, the so-called opposition. We see some signs of all these things happening again. And we keep on clapping our hands for these kind of things. I have seen, for example, Zimbabwe Adzoka, we have been going around campaigning for a robust coalition. And every day you see the way of thinking I'm talking about in our forums. You see some other, members of different political parties come every day, no matter that they have been a member in our movement for years. You hear them making these slogans, personalized slogans, eulogizing some different political actors, because they don't even understand the essence of unity, of getting united. Okay, what are you going to benefit if you say Chimutu, Chimutu? Nothing. Okay? Chimutu is gainfully employed. He is able to feed his family. Is able to drive and is living in a good house, right? So if you say Chimutu, Chimutu, and you are in Mabia, Checheche, in Harare, in Kambuzuma, in Matapi, what are you going to benefit yourself? So as citizens, let's start to have a new narrative. Politics is about benefiting the people, our people. It's not about the leadership. When you go there, if your motive to be in politics, to be in activism is to enrich yourself or to, or to, then you are there for wrong reasons. You are there for wrong reasons. And when we see these signs in our potential leaders, in our leaders of today, let's take note, let's question them. Because we need to question these ethics. We need to understand why people are. Of course, all politicians, all activists are sacrificing a lot. That's true. But also look around ethics. When you join a movement, look around ethics. What is it that they are doing on the ground? Can you see them? Are they accountable? Can they provide something? If you have to make a big donation, can they give you something to see in return how the money has been used? Are there ways, some mechanism where you can check this? It's our responsibility as citizens to do this. I'm so angry about this. I know you guys are so angry about this. And we need to speak about this every day. Let's stop only shouting and speaking, but let's start to act. Let's start to act. Let's do something about this. We can do something about this as citizens of a nation. So, comrades and friends, I don't mind, maybe it's now 2 hours or what, I want this message to reach as many as possible. We have to understand, let's create a new narrative. Let's challenge these power structures in our society. Let's challenge the civil society in Zimbabwe. The civil society in Zimbabwe is now rotten. No ethics, nothing. The opposition in Zimbabwe, we need to continually question the leadership. A lot of dubious things going around. Activists, so many things going around. Let's question these things. Let's ask these things. Because what we are doing as a nation, the mistake that we are doing as a people, we eulogize the leaders. We eulogize the leaders. We don't talk about the people, the movement they are representing. We talk about them as personalities. Stop talking about the Chimutus and the what. Talk about the people in Binga. Talk about the people in Mabia, Muzi there. So that when you put your $20 to Zimbabwe Adzoka, ask them, have you reached there? See something. Confirm something. Even if you want a telephone number, call somebody. Leadership has to be accountable. Leadership has to be accountable to the people. If we are talking of building a nation, if we are talking of building a republic, then it must be anchored, it must be broad-based. We must not forget the people. Let's run away from this idea as Zimbabweans. When somebody is broadcasting about something, about Makuwa or something, you see Zimbabweans, 5,000 hits, 10,000 hits, 20,000 hits. Okay? Are we a nation, are we a laughing stock? When we talk important things to me and you, to our children, to our nation, you don't see people. You don't see people, articulating issues of national importance. You see people going around, see Makuwa, see this and that, done that. Talking about adults who are having their own good times and what? As a nation, are these things that we need to discuss as a nation? Is this the narrative that we need to take forward? Do we want our children to see this in future? Huh? Yes, give a nation of gossip. Anything, just something that circulates, it becomes viral. Within 5 minutes, it has got 20 shares, 50 shares, 100 shares, 250 shares. We invite you guys, let's talk about issues of national importance. You are not, we don't see you. Okay? We invite you guys, let's build a broad movement. Let's mobilize our people. Let's go to our forgotten people in Binga. Yeah? When you see those Zimbabwe Adzoka comrades in Binga, when you see them in Mabia, there are some few Zimbabweans who are sacrificing to do that. I am not a rich person. I am just an ordinary person like you guys. I survive from my salary to my family and stuff. Okay? But we sacrifice a little bit more. If I was buying ice cream to my kids, every week, then I stopped doing that. I start buying them for 2 weeks. If my kids' locker was full with the 20 shoes, I reduced the frequency of buying those shoes. Okay? There are many areas that we as a people can do, many areas that we can reduce. Our expenditure in this world is becoming too unnecessary on things that are not so important. Okay? After this broadcast, go and check out how much money, for example, is used worldwide for ice cream, for example. For other things, maybe ice cream is important anyway to kids. But I mean, for all these other things, just go and Google and check. This is how we have become. Okay? And we have ourselves to blame. I was talking to you, Gift. You are also, I think, Sister Grace, I see you have joined us. Welcome. Grace, Gift, you guys are in UK. I was talking with people who are in UK. We've got so many Zimbabweans in UK. When there's action in UK, there you see 5-10 people. Huh? People don't show up. And these are, imagine if 20,000 people, imagine if 10,000 people were going to be at the embassy there in London. Imagine the impact it was going to have. To the international community, imagine that impact. But we retreat in our silos, in our shells. My life is comfortable. I am having a comfortable life. A comfortable life. Are you not ashamed every time you're asked where do you come from? And many of you now are ashamed to say you come from Zimbabwe anyway. I'm talking about those in the diaspora. Many of you are ashamed to say you come from Zimbabwe. Because we have neglected that nation, we are practically not doing anything. As citizens, let's challenge ourselves. Let's coalesce around something. Okay? We can do this as citizens. I have challenged people like, you guys in the diaspora, we can come up with our own model. We can come up with our own model and run almost a parallel structures in the country. We can do this as citizens because anyhow, it's the diaspora, it's Zimbabweans in the diaspora that are sustaining the economy. Okay? We can do this on our own. We can kind of run our own parallel structures, build schools, build bridges there. As citizens, we can do this. Of course, let's blame ZANU-PF. They have destroyed our country. Our country is in the gutters. Yes. This is why we have to vote them out. But look, the confusion in the opposition camp now. Where are they? We don't see you. Where are you guys? Where are the Jeremiahs of this generation? Where are the Joshuas? You guys, where are you hiding, the Esthers? We want you to rise up. We want you to speak in unison. We want you to speak with one voice. We want you to create a new narrative for the nation. The nation is waiting. The nation is begging. This is what we have to do as a generation. If we are going to be a generation to be remembered for something, forget the Mugabes. They are already remembered for second Chimurenga. For God's sake. What is it that you are to be remembered for? Huh? What is it that you want to be remembered for? What was your purpose to be on this earth? If it doesn't pain you to see what's happening, if it doesn't pain you to hear people saying that informal employment vending these are jobs that we created. A month later, those people are thrown away. Today in Bulawayo, they were taking everything, the bananas, the tomatoes, the ways of the people who are selling there. And those people are struggling to make $1 a day. 30 cents a day. Those are the people who sometimes cannot even afford to take a combi going home. They are sleeping in pavements in the streets. And you guys in the diaspora, okay, you are failing to come up with a narrative. You are failing to come up with a way of thinking, a new way of thinking in a collectivity, where you can kind of coalesce around something that you see it's working. Let's talk about political leadership and challenge our political leaders later. Let's fight that battle on that front. But there are so many other things we can also do to show the current political leadership that we will not miss them anyway, that we are capable of doing these things on our own. In Zimbabwe, we no longer have a state. The state has collapsed. What we have in Zimbabwe, it's just ZANU-PF now, because there's no separation between the state and ZANU-PF anyway. And what citizens can do can also creating some form of parallel structures where they can provide some kind of, in their local communities. Let's empower those people. Let's repair those schools in Binga. Let's do something as citizens and let them see that we are doing those kind of things. And then they will know that we are serious about challenging these hegemonic power structures. Because the problem that we do now have is not only challenging ZANU-PF, but also the opposition leadership is letting us down. We have not been seeing them. They are not on the ground now. What's happening? We are talking elections are probably 9 months away, 6 months away. We don't see people around. Registration is going on. There's a lot of apathy. Take up your phone or whatever. Call anybody in Harare. Some people are not showing up to register. People are not showing up to register. And that's a telltale sign. It's a bad sign to anybody. There's no appetite. We have not managed to create a new narrative. No excitement. There's no message going out. And of course, if we keep quiet about this, if we keep, comfortable in our small shells, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. When you don't have a heritage, when your children are afraid to say where they come from. I have a daughter here. I have a daughter. Last week she was in town with the mom. And the police here in Norway, they were doing something, showing up, showcasing up, their stuff. And when she came back, she was so surprised. The police here, they are so friendly. They were giving me that. But I see the police in Zimbabwe, they beat people and stuff like that. This is how our children see our nation. This is how they perceive us. You think they will like themselves when they think like that? It's pathetic. Huh? They start to hate their own people. They start to hate themselves. They start to hide their identity. So yes, you've got a job, you're comfortable, I'm here, I'm an associate professor, what? What does it mean? What does it mean? When I'm afraid to say that I come from Zimbabwe, when I'm ashamed to say that this is my nation, these are my people. When my people, your people are sleeping in pavements every night. When your people are selling a country because of 2 kgs of rice. Because you didn't make any effort to reach there to educate them. You didn't go there to reach them, to tell them that their vote is so important. Huh? But kwauriwo zvakanaka, so you are happy about that situation. We need to challenge each other. We need to change this kind of narrative. Let's coalesce around something. Let's challenge our opposition leadership. Let them show up. If they are hibernating, let us tell them that spring is here. Because we don't see them. We don't want a new narrative, a leadership, even in the progressive movement. When the leaders are not present, everything shuts down. Political movements, or progressive forces of societies must not be personal properties in any form or in any way. When Chimutu is not in Zimbabwe, Yadzoka Maibuye Zimbabwe must be able to do activities in Chipinge or wherever. Delegate responsibilities. Let people take over. Let people do something when you are not around. Let people be comfortable in their local communities as leaders. This is the type of leadership that we need for the country. So that when I don't go to Mudzi, I know that the leadership there in Mudzi can do something. Because they are capable. You have to equip them. You have to give them confidence. You look at the development index and what the countries that we are living in, always number one and this and that. What have we learned? What have we learned? What have I learned have I learned something for staying in Norway? How can that help our own nation? How can that help our own people? Where should we start? What can we do? Why can't we create this new narrative together? So, comrades, I think we have to reach a point where we need to challenge each other, where we need to tell each other that what we are doing, we can see what you are doing, but what you are doing is not enough. It's not enough to liberate our people. It's not enough to give pride to the people. It's not enough to see the back of ZANU-PF. It's not enough. You are a generation mandate. Your generational mandate is to reclaim Zimbabwe. As long as Zimbabwe is in the hands of ZANU-PF, as long as Zimbabwe is under the hegemony of ZANU-PF, you haven't fulfilled your destiny. You haven't reached you haven't fulfilled your generational mandate. We go around there. So many communities, they call us. So many people. If anybody of you is in our forums, you see this. People are, can you reach here? Can you reach here? Can you send us some flyers? We can't. We cannot do that. We don't have the resources to do that. But if you give us, for example, $150, we are going to reach 5,000 households. When we reach 5,000 households, let's say 2 to 3 adults are in that, or voting age are in that household. Your 150 is potentially reaching 10, 12,000 people. And you don't need to give us $150 on your own. But if each of us just contribute $1 or something to the struggle. I'm not saying give it to Zimbabwe Adzoka. Look around, give to somebody else, give to other movements. I mean, as long as they've got systems that because don't just give money, don't just give, of course. There must be some systems that shows you that it's accounted for. But what we are good at as a nation is coming up with so many initiatives. We don't evaluate initiatives that we do have. We don't evaluate the goodness and the bad of the initiative that we do have. So that when you come up with a new initiative, it should be a new niche, chipping into, it doesn't, a country like United States, when they to as big as United States, when they go to their elections, you see how many political parties, 3, 4 political parties. And in Zimbabwe, we are actually saying that potentially there are going to be 50 political parties on the ballot. That's a joke. You don't just form a political party because you want to be a president of a political party. You can't do that. It has to be an ideology. It has to be a new way of thinking. It has to be a new philosophy. Now, when you look around all these political parties, they are saying the same things. Look at APA. Look at what is it, Dr. Manyika, the other political party. Tell me what is so different about those two outfits. Look at PDP. Look at MDCT. Look at MDCN. What is so different about those things? So you have a clusters of so many political parties that are saying the same things. Effectively, all opposition in Zimbabwe, they just want one thing anyway, to reclaim from ZANU-PF and to rebuild the country. And when you hear these different leaderships, they are so headstrong. No. They want to maintain because my brand is so unique and stuff like that. People have to unite. If you are opposition, our enemy number one is to take out ZANU-PF, to make sure that our people who are sleeping in the streets are not like the people who are unemployed. They start to get jobs. We start to build our nation. Okay, leaders emerge. Leaders will always emerge. There is no nation in this world. Let's not use our time on that. Leaders will always emerge in any nation. Leaders emerge. Okay. People must be coalesce. They have to be united. Come up with all those good ideas. Build a very strong, robust political system, a progressive movement. Let's reclaim the country. If all those 50 political parties, 20 whatever, if they were united, and if they were going to subdivide to say, okay, NPP, can you concentrate on Mashonaland provinces? MDC, can you concentrate on this? MDCN, can you concentrate on Matabeleland South? This, can you concentrate on that? Huh? We were not going to have this problem about lack of activity. It's called pulling together the resources. You think ZANU-PF and ZANU and ZAPU were fighting in the same village? If they were fighting in the same village, actually it means they were united as PF. Because it's a common enemy. As a nation, we want one thing. We want our nation to progress. We want to get rid of ZANU-PF. So when we talk of you guys in the opposition leadership to unite, we are not begging you, but it's a demand that is coming from the people of Zimbabwe. The people of Zimbabwe are tired. Let me tell you something. The people of Zimbabwe, they just don't want ZANU-PF. So if you think you are so comfortable and think that the people of Zimbabwe want you as an alternative, no. The people of Zimbabwe just don't want ZANU-PF. They just don't want ZANU-PF. They want a new narrative. They want to see something different. So we have to start to have these difficult conversations. Because, I mean, the reports that are coming from the ground is not encouraging at all. It's not encouraging at all. Our leadership is not seen on the ground. We don't know where they are. What's happening? And we cannot reclaim a country when we do that. We can't do that. So, comrades, friends, I mean, this is a challenge. Take it as a personal challenge. What is it that you are doing also? Before you blame them, okay, what is it that you are also doing? Don't be so comfortable. Even if you buy that car Grace is doing, you still have to drive it in the streets, in the roads that are like that. Okay, maybe they create, they have those roads, they are special roads they use, okay? But what do? You still have to use the same road that everyone is using. When there's no electricity, your home also doesn't have electricity. Your neighbor you still force this. This is why these things are called public goods. So we have to look for our country as a collectivity. It's a public good. You can do good on your own, but it's not good enough. So anyway, thank you for those who have been watching. This has been a very, very long broadcast. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Babington. Thank you, Gift. See you guys. Until next Friday, we will reach out to you again. Have a nice time and a nice week. Thanks.